Hey guys, it's Miharu, and welcome to SpyroCast. This is episode 28, and today we have an unexpected guest who I literally just asked to be on right this second because I thought it would be funny. It is GamingSpex. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, I am GamingSpex, a fellow YouTuber. I literally just wrapped up recording something with her myself. Literally 2 minutes ago.
I know. We just finished doing that recording for Crash, and then I asked, hey, do you want to be on SpyroCast? You're like, yes! I'm like, good, let's record right now. Okay. Oh, that's funny. So, I guess I'm gonna start off like I always do. What is your history with Spyro?
Spyro is honestly one of the most personal game franchises to me because the original trilogy were the first games that I ever owned. They weren't the first I ever played, but they were the first ones I could ever call my own. Around the tail end of the PlayStation 1's life cycle, there was a release of a collector's edition 3-pack that had the original trilogy in it. And my dad bought that for me. And I played in such a weird order, because when you're a kid, you don't really know that there's a correct order to play. I actually played Spyro 2 first, then the third, then the first. I did not beat them in that order. I actually beat, I think the third game was the first one I ever beat, because Ripto's Rage had some missions that were just too hard for me at such a small age. I think I beat 2 after Year of the Dragon, and then I think the last one that I beat of the trilogy was actually the first.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, though, but I'm pretty sure that's the order it went in.
I think that's the same way. I think the last one I beat was also the first one, because I didn't have that game back until a while after I had already had 2 and 3. Because I started with 1, and then I had to give it away. I had 2 and 3. I probably beat those, and then I went back to 1. Not fully complete, though. Not fully complete, especially not 3. I didn't do that until 20 years later.
That's fair. I didn't complete any of them until I was maybe at least 14 or 15, and I started becoming more invested in completing games. But after the original trilogy, the next games that I played were actually, I played Season of Ice and Season of Flame. I played Season of Flame more. I couldn't play Enter the Dragonfly right away because I didn't have a PS2 until about 2003. So I had to wait for the GameCube version to come out. And then, honestly, I just played every Spyro game in order after that, except for somehow I missed A Hero's Tale. Despite all the commercials that I saw, I think there was just so much stuff going on in 2004 as far as games, movies, and all that I forgot it existed. And then I didn't wind up picking that one up until after Dawn of the Dragon came out.
Wow.
So that was actually the last Spyro game I played.
It's a long time to go without knowing something exists, but I mean, that's completely fair because I didn't know that Season of Flame existed. I played Season of Ice, then Enter the Dragonfly, and I was in a store one day. I was like, what, Season of Flame is a thing? What? I was really confused. And then for years I didn't know that Shadow Legacy existed either.
Yeah, I don't think the handheld games actually got as much advertisements.
Or Attack of the Rhinox.
Yeah, I think that one, as far as I can remember, I never saw a commercial for that one. I think I saw one for Season of Ice and Flame and Shadow Legacy. I know I saw one for Spyro Orange, because they were really hyping that one up.
Oh, the crossovers.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my history with the series. I never stopped loving the series, so when Reignited was announced, I was all for it, and only to find out that it was releasing on my birthday was the icing on the cake.
Ha! Yeah, that was great. So what are your favorite and least favorite games?
As in multiple favorites and multiple least favorites, or just one of each?
I guess you could have the multiple favorites.
For me, my absolute favorite is, and has always been, Year of the Dragon.
Yes!
Love that game's level design, love its soundtrack, love the characters, especially Bianca. She is an angel, and I want to protect her. I didn't like the sorceress as much as Ripto, but I liked everything else about the story. It felt more involved and more up front, whereas Ripto's Rage was only really between the boss fights. I actually loved the alternate playable characters. Except for PlayStation 1 Agent 9. PlayStation 1 Agent 9 is horrible, and I'm so glad they fixed that in Reignited.
He controls like absolute ass in the original.
Thankfully, they went the Ratchet and Clank route for Agent 9 in Reignited, and he's honestly now my favorite to play as out of the new characters. Sergeant
Bird has always been my favorite to play as.
I like him. I like him actually a lot more than I used to. I used to not like playing as him, but it's actually not that bad to play as now. Especially in Reignite. I feel like Reignite honestly just fixed a lot of characters, even though they made Bentley worse.
Oh yeah, they made him.
And it's all because of that camera over the shoulder. I do not like that.
What is with the camera?
I don't know, and I wish they would have patched it to fix it, because if you're gonna make the camera go over his shoulder, why don't you make it go over the one that doesn't have the club?
I know. What were they thinking? And it makes that mission in Bamboo Terrace like absolutely sarcastic.
Yes, and like, the one in what is it called? Is it Crystal Island or Crystal Glacier?
I think it's Crystal Islands, because you talk about the whack-a-mole, aren't you?
Yes. Yes, that mission became so much worse. Not to mention the time limit starts immediately instead of waiting until you're actually in the field. It starts
immediately. You're right.
You like barely have enough time. Oh, I hate that mission. They made it worse.
So funny that you're saying that, because that is the mission that kept me from wanting to complete the game. Because I was like, no, and I put it down. I didn't play it for like a year.
That's fair. Least favorite? That's actually really tough, because I have multiple that I would never play again if I had a choice. I would say, honestly, factually, the worst one is still Spyro Orange.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Never played it, though.
I hate it. I would probably not hate it as much if the only way you got to the final boss was not to make you play every single minigame 3 times.
That's what I heard too. Oh my god, what is with the horrible decisions in these games?
I don't know, because Crash's equivalent did it better. All you needed was the crystals and the gems, just like traditional Crash, and then you got straight to the final world. But in Spyro, it's like, no, you have to play the same minigames 3 times, with them increasingly getting a little harder every time, but not changing much. Another contender for the worst is definitely Eternal Night.
We're talking now. The game that I got bored with in like 20 minutes.
That's exactly why I don't like it. It's boring. And that's the same problem I have with A New Beginning. It is boring. I think Eternal Night is worse, but they both bore me, and I'm so glad that Dawn of the Dragon is not like those two at all.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn of the Dragon was actually fun.
Dawn of the Dragon is fun, and a lot of people don't like it. Because of the story, which, I mean, whatever, I wasn't playing for the story. I played it for the free flight, which, in hindsight, is not the best. It could have been handled better, but it was still okay.
It's at least more fun to explore the levels than it is in New Beginning and Eternal Night, because New Beginning and Eternal Night were slow, repetitive, and they didn't really have level design that I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn of the Dragon, I love. It's beautiful, especially when you play it on the HD consoles, and it has levels that are just so much fun to run around in. Valley of Avalar is one of the best levels I have ever played in a platforming game.
I didn't do anything in that game for the longest time because I was just messing around in the Valley of Avalar.
Yes, it's so much fun. And you know, even though the co-op is kind of tacked on if you're playing by yourself, playing it with a friend is so great.
I haven't been able to do that much. I think I did it once.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to experience the entire game, but I have played bits and pieces with some friends, and it is a blast. I would love to do the entire game with at least one person, just from start to finish. It's got to be a blast.
Yeah, and the other best thing is, of course, just getting to play as Cinder, because her abilities are way cooler than Spyro's.
Okay. Yeah, I like Cinder. I hear a lot of people don't like Cinder for some weird reason, but I've always liked her character. She's got depth, and she goes through an arc, which I find nice for a Spyro game.
Yes.
Because the only other character that really went through an arc was Bianca.
Mm-hmm. Aha. Yes, listen, people. The only other character who went through an arc was Bianca. I talk about her enough.
No, you could probably squeeze in a few more videos about her.
Oh, I definitely could. In fact, I have a part 2 to that whole analysis that I did.
Perfect.
I'm gonna do it someday. Just don't know when. Alright, do you think we could be getting a new Spyro game this year?
You know, I really hope we are, because it would be kind of weird for us to go a year without some sort of new Activision kid game, because it's been a tradition for them, at least for the last 10 years, to release one every year. Because I refuse to accept that the modern upgrades of Crash 4 are all we're getting. I feel like they hinted enough that there's something in the works. I'm hoping it's this year. Of course, you know, with the state of the world, it's kind of hard to tell. But if they do release one, I would definitely wager on it coming out towards the last quarter of the year, because that's typically when they tend to release most of their games.
Yeah. Or at least I can see it being announced.
Yeah, and I think Toys for Bob is working on it, because they're the ones who seem to be teasing it the most.
Okay.
That's my theory. I also think Beanox could potentially be working on it, because they only assisted with the inverted levels in Crash 4, and if Vicarious Visions is now part of Blizzard, I don't think they're going to be working on Spyro, so
right.
My next guess would be Beanox, because they haven't worked on anything new since they worked on Nitro Fueled, and they stopped working on that fully about a year ago.
Yeah. And my main guess has always been Beanox. And I just posted a thing today saying, if these guesses are correct, then the composer for Nitro Fueled will also be doing the music for Spyro 4.
I saw you post that.
And we're all very excited about that could be a possibility.
Yeah, because his work on the remix of Mushroom Speedway for the Spyro circuit was arguably better than what they did in Reignited, and I would dare say, and I'm gonna get stoned for this, I liked it better than Stewart's.
You know what? That's completely fair.
And I love Stewart's work.
Yeah.
But that man captured that song perfectly, because it was the perfect homage, but it had like its own like unique style to it at the same time, and I loved it. So if that's true and he's the one composing for it, I'm all for it. Bring it on.
So ready.
Haven't been this excited for a Spyro soundtrack since Enter the Dragonfly.
Ugh, despite Stuart Copeland working on Enter the Dragonfly's soundtrack, it didn't have the same feel.
No, it definitely did it. I don't love every track in the game, but there are certain ones that I can tell he put a lot more love into. Because actually, I've heard the versions of the songs without his inclusions into them, because there's a documentary channel that's been showing off a lot of cut content from Enter the Dragonfly, and they sound so weird without his touch on them. So yeah. They almost sound like completely different songs. Like the only ones that I genuinely loved the most in that game was Honey Marsh and Rainbow Speedway. Those are two of, in my opinion, Stuart's best pieces he's done for the Spyro series.
Yeah, I don't really remember what those sound like. In fact, I don't really remember that. Yeah, I don't remember a single track from that game, because I haven't heard any of them recently.
That's fair.
I remember liking Thieves Den.
So that's one of the ones I can't remember.
For some reason, Thieves Den always sticks out. Probably just like the level itself. I kind of like the aesthetic of the level, if I remember it right. I haven't played it in years.
Yeah, I haven't either. I remember that one just being mostly treasure-themed, and it was pretty cool looking. They had the broken wing shield in it. Yep,
I do remember that, because I've seen a lot of clips of it completely not working.
Yep, just like that entire game.
Yeah, I used to think I was crazy when I would play that game, and I'd be like, why is this game so glitchy, and why can't I do anything? Why does nothing feel right? And when I talked to Hari about it, she'd be like, I haven't experienced any glitches. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's just me. And then I realized, no, I'm not crazy. This is a broken game. So, yeah, that game was an experience, and I think Thieves Den is probably as far as I got before I stopped playing, and then I gave it away.
I've only seen that game to the end one time, and it was the only time I actually did the weird choice of 100%ing it.
My God.
And it was a horrible experience. I would never recommend it to anybody. It's not worth it.
That's what most people say when they talk about 100%ing that game.
Just look the ending up online. You'll be less disappointed that way.
Yeah. I can say that about a lot of games.
Yep.
Just look up the ending online. I could say that about Crash 4, honestly.
Yeah, you really could.
Don't get 106%. Just look up the ending because it's like not even a minute long.
No, it's
the
like
point?
it's literally like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
For the like 30, 40 hours you're gonna sink into it. And that's if you know what you're doing.
The worst endgame reward is always a cutscene. Especially a short cutscene with no dialogue. Don't give me that as a reward. That's not a reward.
I want a power up or I want a level.
Yeah.
Which Spyro did fantastically.
That's why I always say that despite people not appreciating the permanent super flame in Spyro 2, I think it is the best endgame reward because,
Agreed.
well, it's one of the earliest experiences I ever had with a game having New Game Plus.
And when I first completed the game, I didn't even know that it carried over to other files because I never thought to boot up that file, go to the title screen, and then boot up another file. So I was like, well, I can't really do anything with this, but hey, it's cool. And then when I learned, it was a game changer.
I didn't know about that. I wonder if the guidebook actually says something about it doing that. I don't remember how I learned that would happen. But I remember hearing a crazy rumor once, because I wasn't quite sure that it would carry over, and I was just like, I don't know, should I start a new game? I don't want to lose everything. And I was all nervous because I was a kid and I didn't want to lose progress.
Right.
And so I remember one of my friends, I think he was just making this up because he just wanted to be funny. He's just like, yeah, if you put the game in the microwave for 10 seconds, it'll work.
What?
I'm like, huh? And it was the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
What? Okay, I've heard some really bad video game myths, but I think that might just be the worst.
It's pretty bad. Makes no sense.
I like that.
All right, and last question. What are some of the most important things you think a new game should have?
I think the most important things in Spyro, at least for me, is atmosphere, for sure. I think the music helps complement that a lot. So I want the levels to feel magical. I know it's a cop-out thing because it's a fantasy world, but
Yeah.
that's the thing. Stuart's music always felt magical, and it always fit the level. So like when you show me a level, you show me a screenshot from it, my mind will instantly start playing the music. So
Yes.
I think atmosphere is important for Spyro. I think exploration is also extremely important. So I think having nice little areas where you can like hide goodies would be great. But Spyro's already been doing this for 3 games, with the only difference really being adding mini games and adding new characters. So if you want to spice up the game without taking away from what makes the Spyro games what they are, you got to find a way to keep the core gameplay kind of the same, but also innovative. And the best way I think would be if they maybe had more collectibles, like maybe some other things that can, like, for me, I've really loved what the Activision has been doing with the last few Crash games with skins. I think that if there was like a collectible that could get Spyro all sorts of different skins, that would be cool. Maybe even have the skins have like some sort of special features, like maybe one of them could give him the double jump from Spyro A Hero's Tale. Or maybe give him not a supercharge, but without the supercharged speed, like it can break through metal shields or something on the big bad guys. So like I think that would be an interesting idea, and just like find another way to like put another collectible in the levels so that I'm keeping my eyes out for them, because then that's like something I can look forward to is, oh, I can use this to unlock this skin, which I can use to make this level more fun in some unique way.
Yeah.
And I think they should focus more on story too, for sure.
Right. I think that's really important. And going back to what you said about how they added minigames and stuff, how you want it to be atmospheric with an emphasis on exploration. So it's basically what I want is going back to the style of the first game.
Yes.
because they haven't really explored much of that after that point. It all became the mini games and challenges from 2 onward.
Yep.
And they never went back to that style. So I'm really hoping that they can kind of have more of a focus on that style, but without taking away what makes Spyro games Spyro.
Yeah, like I like the mini games, but I would actually like to see them go back to that style too, because whenever I replay the trilogy, I find Spyro 1 to be the most comfortable because it doesn't have you deviating from the core gameplay. And I can understand why that would be repetitive to some people, but I like it. I don't know. It's like, it's not too long of a game to where it doesn't become much of a problem for me. So if we got a game that was about as long as the first game and played like that, I honestly would be all for it.
Yeah. It's a very chill and relaxed experience compared to 2 and 3.
Yeah, maybe if you want to like include mini games, you could put them off to the side and work in like those optional collectibles into there.
Yeah.
Treat them like the speedways. They're not something you have to do. There's something you can do if you want to.
If you want to go for the full 100% plus completion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And what's your stance on playable characters?
I like them. I don't think the series has really done too bad with them, but if I had my choice, I would say maybe don't have as many. Like maybe just an additional 2, because the Game Boy games did that, and I think they did a good job with it, because when you don't have to juggle 5 characters around, actually it's 6 if you count Sparks in Year of the Dragon, you can focus more so on Spyro, and you have the other ones off to the side for the occasional like side objective, and it doesn't feel like it's getting too intrusive, because I love Year of the Dragon, but that game was like 50% Spyro, 50% other characters, and I can see why people didn't like that. So maybe if they negated it to like maybe 2 characters besides Spyro, it could be like 70% Spyro, 30% alternate characters.
Yeah, I think that sounds really good. What do you think should be some new playable characters, adding ones that have yet to be playable in the trilogy?
Bianca, easily.
There you go.
I was extremely happy when Hunter was playable fully in Hero's Tale. I would like to see Bianca playable with like magic. I think she could bring a lot to the table. There could be all sorts of creative spells she could do. As for other characters, if we're talking about like the entire Spyro series, if they brought him back, if they had to bring him back, I would like to see what they could do with maybe having you play as Ripto, honestly.
Yeah.
But don't bring 2 magic wielders back in the same game, because then it's hard to find an identity for them. Other than that, there's not many characters that I've really wanted to play as that I haven't already gotten the chance to play as.
Yeah. Because
maybe Laura, if you could find something unique to do with her, but you won't catch me saying I want to play as the Professor in Moneybags.
Oh man, I love to play as Moneybags. His gameplay would be the best. What would he even do?
They'd put Moneybags in a Pac-Man ripoff and have him collect gems in a maze while being chased by thieves instead of ghosts.
While being chased by thieves. He becomes a haiku poet in Spooky Swamp.
He has a rhythm game section where you have to say his haikus in synchronization with the button prompts. It's like Sly 2's Tango Dancing, but with haikus.
Oh my God. For some reason, I think that could possibly be fun, because that's actually one of the parts that I like about Sly 2.
Me
and I don't like that game.
I loved that mini game, and I liked that they brought it back in the 3rd one, but it was opera singing.
Oh yeah,
instead.
they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah, of all things that I don't like about that game, that's one of the few that I actually do like. I thought that was fun. I kind of thought that whole world was fun to explore.
That was one of my favorite ones in the game, actually.
Oh boy! All right, this is good for a little mini cast, I think. So yeah, we're going to end it there. And thank you so much, GamingSpex, for being on the show.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
At the literal last minute. But it was fun regardless.
Worth it.
It was so worth it. And oh my gosh, Mark is usually my co-host, so I'm gonna have to tell him, hey, yeah, I did this at the last minute. You're not here. Sorry.
Don't boycott me, please.
Boycott the one guest.
I have a family to feed.
Never
A
have
family
that
of
guy
one.
return again. Thank you all so much for listening, and don't forget to listen to the other episodes I have of SpyroCast, and I will see you next time. Until then, this is Miharu, signing off.
Bye-bye.